Welcome into the Thunder Basketball Universe presented by Summer Moon Coffee. We are recording today's episode on Wednesday, January 28th. The Thunder has just one game remaining in this slog that has been January, the dog days of the NBA. Notoriously, every single season, I feel like at this point, every team in the NBA is looking around like, are we at the All-Star break yet? And you can kind of feel it right about now.
And the injuries are piling up for every single team. I'm not sure I've ever seen a season where if you look at the injury report every single day, there's a handful of players on every team who's got something going on. And so these teams, just with the condensed schedule coming out of the NBA Cup, January being an every other night affair with no stretch of 2 days off for really any team. This has been quite a battle, and a test of wills and endurance right now.
I mean, you want to talk about the grind of an NBA schedule. Last time we podcasted was early January, that first week of January. So we have a little bit of updating to bring you, and some great news out of the NBA. First things first, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander named an all-star starter for the third consecutive season, his fourth year as an all-star, a very deserving honor for the league's reigning MVP.
Yeah, this was a no-doubter. I mean, he's also the leading candidate for MVP of the league once again this year. Incredibly efficient all the way around, impactful on both ends of the floor. One of the leaders of one of the best teams in the league. So getting it done on both sides of the ball, no surprise there.
He won't be the only one out in Los Angeles during All-Star Weekend, because the league also announced just a couple of days ago, Ajay Mitchell was named a 2026 Rising Star, so he will participate in the Castrol Rising Stars game. Actually, also learned that he's going to be on Team T-Mac. For those of you who don't remember, it's actually a Rising Stars player pool. All of those Rising Stars are divided into 4 teams, and they play a little bit of a round-robin tournament.
Yeah, an amazing opportunity for AJ. This is something that he probably would have gotten last year as a rookie. Got that toe injury right around December, mid-December, and was not able to, be eligible then for this honor. And so to see the way that he's played up to this point in the season, he's been one of the very best guys off the bench. Absolutely, a guy that you might be thinking about for Sixth Man of the Year candidacy. And so again, to have a second-year guy, a second-round pick. Chris Fisher made a great point last night on our FanDuel Sports Network broadcast. You look at the list of guys who are on that Rising Stars team, there's only 2 or 3 that are second-round picks. Most of them high lottery first-round picks.
Well, and it's a good
Ajay
point.
Mitchell, one of them.
It's a good point, too, because the Thunder, they are not surprised at all by how well AJ has been playing over the course of this season, how well he was playing last season. They've always thought very highly of his abilities, and that's why the Thunder made 3 different trades on draft night in order to move up to 38 to select him. They had him targeted. They knew what he was capable of, and he has been a great developmental story for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I mean, to invest that much energy, time, draft capital to get a guy and move up from outside of the draft to get yourself a pick in the second round, then move up a couple more times. That signifies that the Thunder had him very high on their draft board. And so to be able to come away from that draft with, they not only do they have a lottery pick in Nikola Topic, another first-round pick, but then they jump back in and got Ajay Mitchell in the second round. That says a lot about what they were looking for that night.
Well, to round out our All-Star Weekend conversation, we are awaiting one more announcement. We should find out the All-Star reserves on February 1st. And that's where we are anticipating seeing Chet Holmgren on that list of names.
Would certainly be extraordinarily deserving. Would be so special and fitting if, the Thunder out in Denver in a national TV game, an exclusive game against the Nuggets, to have Chet announced as an all-star that night would be so special. He's certainly done what it takes to deserve it. We talked to the opposing head coaches who are the ones that vote on this award. We talk to them night in and night out. And at the podium, they say Chet Holmgren is elite. This guy deserves a ton of credit for what the Thunder is doing on the defensive end of the floor. One of the very best defenses that we've seen really in a generation. And so this is something that Chet certainly deserves in addition to what he's doing on the offensive end.
And there was a stat that was basically any team in the history of the NBA, you can go back as far as the eye can see, any team with a winning percentage of 800 or above has always always had 2 players in the All-Star game.
Yeah, since 1950, if your winning percentage is 800 or better at the time of the selection, then you've got at least 2 All-Stars. We've seen teams that have had 3 All-Stars from one squad. And so for the Thunder, it's kind of a slam dunk no-brainer for it to be Shai and Chet this year.
And Chet, one of those guys that just simply impacts winning on every single level. Incredible stuff we've seen from Chet all season long. And that's also why he was the Defensive Player of the Month for December. He got that award. Him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander were both recognized before the game last night in New Orleans. Shai won Western Conference Player of the Month, and Chet got Defensive Player of the Month. Yeah,
great honors, again, signifying their impact.
Yeah.
We'll see. We've got awards voting coming up here.
That's a good point.
We're nearing the end of the month. Those guys may be presented with more trophies here coming up in February. We'll see.
Very deserving recognition for these Thunder players who have put in so much work and put together a really remarkable season, given the fact that this team has been dealing with injuries all season long, been able to maintain a really solid stream of success. All right, let's move on to our Summer Moon stat of the week. Nick Gallo, these are some low numbers for us. I'm looking on the rundown. I'm going to let you go first. What's yours?
Number 9. The number is 9. I'm not saying like number 9.
Because I'm like Alex Caruso is number 9.
No, AC's been hurt the last few games, so it's not him.
So 9. Oh, wait. I'm getting creative here.
Okay.
This is the amount of blocks that Chet has had over the last 2 games, right?
You are so close. So close. You've got the category of stat correct.
So it's blocks.
It's blocks.
Okay.
And it is a combination. So you are technically correct with what you brought to the table, but what I was thinking.
What I'm saying is right.
Different. Yes.
Chet has had 9 blocks.
Correct.
But it's not the number that you're using.
Correct.
Is it Chet and J. Will's total blocks?
That's exactly right. Nicely done. Chet and J. Will last night against the New Orleans Pelicans combined for 9 block shots. It's a career high for J. Will.
Yeah.
Going to get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
And 5 for Chet, 1 shy of his season high of 6, which 5 blocks, ho-hum, whatever. Chet Holmgren's got like 50 plus blocks over the last, basically this month, he's been just a monster at the rim. And so I thought this would be a kind of a nice continuation of the discussion that we were just having in terms of the impact that Chet is having at the rim, his understanding of, team defense, his positioning, and how to play off his teammates.
This is massively important when you take it into context with who the Thunder was playing last night here in Paycom Center. They were facing the New Orleans Pelicans, a team notorious for their ability to get into the paint and score in the paint at a high level. One of the league leaders in points in the paint per game. They averaged like around 60 per night. And they have a guy like Zion Williamson, who is one of the league leaders in points in the paint individually. So this means that the Thunder was top line of the scouting report is keep these guys away from the rim, keep them out of the paint. So who do they deploy? Chet Holmgren and J. Will.
Yep.
And those guys executed to a T. And the blocks are only kind of like the tip of the iceberg with how they were able to affect the shot making around the rim for the Pelicans. But it's a really good indicator that the Pelicans weren't getting anything easy around the rim. And the shot blocking was a part of that story for them.
Yeah, the Thunder held the Pelicans 14 points below their season average in terms of points in the paint. So Pelicans normally number 1 in the NBA, up above 58 points per game in the paint.
Yeah.
Thunder held them to just 44 points in the paint.
And below 50% shooting in the paint.
Yeah, and that's something the Thunder has done at a really high level all season long. About half of the games that the Thunder has played this season, they've held their opponent to under 50% shooting in the paint. That's it's hard to have context for that. Most teams shoot like 60% in the paint. It's where you want to take the most shots from.
It's typically the most efficient shot in the NBA. If you can get around the paint, you are expected to shoot a very high percentage around the rim.
Yeah, so for the Thunder to be holding teams below 50% in the paint is really unheard of.
They're basically making the paint as the same efficiency as a 3-point shot for a team. Like if you shoot around 40% from the 3-point line, like that's a pretty good shooting percentage. And now you have the same efficiency at the paint as you would behind the rim. Or behind the 3-point line.
So the Thunder has now played 48 games. 27 of those games, the Thunder has held its opponent to under 50% from the paint. So another great example. And I love that we're able to include both of the Thunder's centers that played significant minutes, because J. Will having 4 blocks is such an incredible developmental story within the Thunder's ecosystem. The guy came in from University of Arkansas, from Fort Smith, where apparently all they do for like summer workouts is just take charges.
That's right.
Jay Will, Isaiah Joe once again right there at the top of the team lead this season for charges taken. But Jay Will has not gone just to charge taking this year in particular. He's really focused on getting vertical, and that's allowed him to block a lot of shots. And it's hard to change who you are fundamentally as a defender when you get to the NBA. And Jay Will's been able to do that.
I think of it like as expanding his game, right? And it's just a matter of having more tools in your toolkit that you can use based on what the game is throwing your way. And for a guy like Jay Will, sometimes it's the ground attack, right? It's being able to plant your feet, get in front of a guy and take a charge, take a hit, and get a turnover. And other times, it's a taller guy who's trying to float it up over you and being able to get vertical, block that shot, and then force a block in that direction. If you have both of those in your arsenal, you can be a really stout defender and throw whatever is necessary at an opponent.
Yeah, and so it makes attacking the lane more unpredictable.
Yes.
Look, Chet Holmgren's not taking charges. He's got so much talent and just God-given athleticism and ability at the rim that he doesn't need another pitch.
Teams are just like turning around when they see him, right? They're not trying to attack him. No, they're like, okay, there's a 7-footer at the rim. I'm just going to make a business decision here.
Yeah, and so to be able to have 2 rounds of rim protection, somebody on the floor at all times. When the Thunder's got Isaiah Hartenstein, that means you can sometimes have 2 of those guys on the floor at the same time.
Good point.
Really, really impacts OKC's rim defense.
A really great stat, Gallo. And mine is on the similar vein, but not. That was
Thanks for clarifying.
Unhelpful. My number is 11.
11.
I feel like I should give you a hint.
I feel like you should.
I feel like I should give you a hint.
Okay.
This is a total number of games that the Thunder has done something this season.
11 games where the Thunder has...
Including last night.
Had 20 or more second chance points?
No.
Am I anywhere close?
No, but it's not a deep dive stat.
Not a deep dive stat.
It's pretty...
Held a team under 100 points?
Nice. Yes.
Good.
That's exactly right.
Great.
So the New Orleans Pelicans had just 95 points in what was just a low-scoring kind of rock fight between both of these teams. Like, it was a gutsy game between these two squads. Held the Pelicans to just 95 points. The Thunder themselves only scored 104 points. Here's why I wanted to bring this up, because the Thunder did not have their fastball offensively in this game. They shot 40% from the field, 34% from the three-point line, and that really doesn't even tell the tale of what kind of shooting night it was for Oklahoma City.
I mean, Shai was missing chip shots at the rim and mid-range jumpers that you're like, that's a 95% shot for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And somehow these shots were not just halfway in the rim, 3/4 of the way down. And they're like, nope, I think we're coming right back up.
Oh, no, the layup that he had, where it was just like this wacky possession. Someone stepped on his foot, his shoe falls off, and then he misses the layup. It's just like, only in this sort of game would this happen for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just to put it in perspective, the Thunder only had 17 points in the first quarter of this game.
And they were winning.
Because they held the Pelicans to 14 points in the first quarter. 15% shooting from the field, 8% from the three-point line in the first quarter for the Pelicans. This is why this is so important, because the Thunder, there's so many things on a basketball court that you have zero control over. What the referees call, and whether or not they call you for a backcourt violation or not.
Right. Let's not get Paris started, okay?
I'm sorry. Let me take it down.
Woosah.
You have no control over whether they blow the whistle, whether they don't blow the whistle. You don't have a lot of control over whether the ball's falling through the hoop. If you give yourself the best look possible, that's still a 50% shot that you're shooting. You can't control whether or not it falls through the hoop on any given night. What you can always control is your defensive execution and your defensive energy. And the Thunder has always put all their money, they've bet on that for themselves throughout the course of the regular season. 11 times this season, they have held NBA teams, the best players in the world, to sub 100 points. That is a huge accomplishment for a Thunder team that any given night fluctuating offensively, what's happening, who's even available for them. Yeah. But the one through line all season long has been that defense and the effort, the intensity, and the execution.
Look, if the Thunder can just lower the ceiling on their opponent, it makes it a lot easier to just chip and dip and dunk your way up to getting over the top there, because you'll have some nights like in Milwaukee where the Thunder's defense was there and OKC just shot the lights out and dominated that game from tip to finish. Then you'll have nights like this past one against New Orleans. And frankly, I think you can look at what happened against Toronto and Indiana as well. And look, the Thunder lost those two games, but by one possession. Yeah. They gave themselves a chance to win in games that really, if you looked at how the ball was going in the basket, they had no business even being in. And so they gave themselves a chance. And in the NBA, when games mostly come down to 2 or 3 possessions, that's all you can ask for.
It's all about giving yourself enough margins to be able to withstand the wacky things that naturally happen in clutch time. And sometimes, the last 5 minutes of the game, they just get exacerbated, right? They get a lot of attention. There's a lot of emotion in those possessions. And so they can kind of get blown out of proportion. But a lot of what happens there, sometimes it's just good fortune, bad fortune. Sometimes it's shots falling, not falling. But the things you do leading up to clutch time can give yourself a little bit of cushion to withstand the things that happen in clutch time, which are just bound to happen in an NBA game.
Absolutely. So great stat by you.
Thank you.
Under 50%.
I'm actually really shocked that you got it, but I gave you a lot of hints.
You did. You certainly helped me.
Okay. Let's talk about a couple of key contributors for Oklahoma City here over the last stretch of games. We've mentioned one of them. His name's Chet Holmgren.
He's good at basketball.
He's really good at basketball, definitely deserving of an all-star spot here in Los Angeles. And I think last night's game against New Orleans is a really good indicator of this. A double-double for Chet. 20 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks. Incredible stuff. The best part about it is that this is the third time this season where Chet has had a double-double with 5 blocks.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It really goes to show how many ways his fingerprints are on the course, over the course of a basketball game. He just impacts so many different elements of this game.
Yeah, I think he's got 14 or 15 double-doubles already this season. And the thing that really stood out about Chet, particularly last night, is first half, just like the shots weren't going down, the ball was like bouncing every which way. Chet had like 6 rebounds in his hands, and it just like somebody's fingertip got on it. He stepped on somebody's foot, and the ball just bounced like crazy directions. The first 5 minutes of the third quarter was some of the best basketball you'll ever see Chet Holmgren play.
Really good.
Extraordinarily active, aggressive to the rim, played so well off the ball, set up the timing on his rolls and his dives to the rim. He was the beneficiary of great passing, but he set himself up for that. And then on the glass, he was fantastic. Yeah. Scored 9 points in the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, racked up a bunch of rebounds. That was such a tone setter for the rest of the game because heading into halftime, there was some Pelicans momentum. And I think that Chet kind of delivered a massive blow there right out of the gates of the third quarter.
Yeah, he told you in his walk-off interview, he was like, going into halftime, I'd bobbled 4 or 5 rebounds. And I just said, I got to dial in here. And that's exactly what he did. 14 points in that third quarter, 8 rebounds. He was really, really efficient and really effective. And I think this is a nice little microcosm of what we've seen from Chet over the course of January. I'm just going to put these stats out here. He's averaging a double-double in January. 17 points, 10 rebounds, also 2.8 blocks. And over the course of January, the Thunder's also been down a lot of players, particularly in the front court. So Chet's been one of those constants for Oklahoma City, and he's been one of those constants at the 5. And we've seen him really take strides forward, I think, developmentally as a player, being able to hold his own at the 5 and be able to be effective at the 5 spot for Oklahoma City in terms of rebounding, shot blocking, but also just kind of being that man in the middle and being able to facilitate and play a lot of different roles.
Yeah, and that's why, again, very deserving of an all-star berth. We'll see if that happens for him. On the flip side, one of his counterparts defensively, Lou Dort, has also been shining. It just would be totally remiss if we didn't mention the assignments that he's had over the last week plus. You think about Giannis Antetokounmpo, Pascal Siakam, guarding Scotty Barnes at times, Donovan Mitchell up in Cleveland. And then, last night he's got Trey Murphy for large portions of the game and Zion Williamson. It's just, he's had so much to deal with.
It blows my mind to think of the fact that the Thunder has this one singular player that they can turn to for any potential opponent, any potential high-level scorer in the NBA. The Thunder says, yeah, we got one. We have a universal remote that we have to be able to control anything that comes our way, whether that is
speaker system, the TV, the sprinklers outside. Yeah,
we got our guy. We have our ace right here. And it's rare to have one player that you can deploy on all of these different players with such varying skill sets.
Yeah.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, that is a full force, downhill attacker. Don't let him get out in transition. Big body, very physical, similar kind of to a Zion Williamson, wants to get downhill, very physical. But then you have a Donovan Mitchell who moves very quickly, who is elite behind the three-point line. Similar to like a Steph Curry type of character where you're chasing him around the court all game long. And then a Scotty Barnes, and then a Trey Murphy. All of these are vastly different players. Vastly different skill set, vastly different body types, and Lu Dort can be equally effective on every single one of them. That is rare. You do not see that around the league.
Yeah, so that's just something keep tabs on. Look, again, this is January in the NBA. This is the hardest month for any player, particularly a player like Dort, who, look, he played like a 10-month season last year and, laid it all on the line, came in absolutely clutch in the NBA Finals after he got 10 weeks of a break, maybe 8 weeks of a break. And then he's back at it in, preseason workouts. And and again, night after night after night, he's lining it up and tackling the job.
I asked Shai about Lou just to see, because he's watched Lou develop over the course of his 7 years in the NBA. And Shai was like, look, Lou has a couple of things going for him. One, God-given talents. I mean, he's got a great size, great frame, but also quickness on his feet that you don't see regularly with guys his size. And then he also has just developed being able to watch a lot of film and learn a lot about all of these players over the course of his 7 years. So he has a nice kind of database of information on all of these opponents, knowing what they want to get to and how to guard them. And that's accumulated very well over the course of his 7 yeyears.
Imparting that knowledge to some of the younger folks on the roster, like Case and Wallace as well.
A really good point. Okay, Lu Dort, keep an eye on him and his defensive assignments.
Yep.
It's been really cool to watch. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about here is the Thunder's depth. We have mentioned the injuries that the Thunder has faced all season long, but the good news is the Thunder has a lot of guys that they can call upon in their time of need, and we've seen a lot of different players make a lot of impact and be ready when their number is called. I want to pose this to you, Nick Gallo. Who has caught your attention?
Well, the first guy that I want to point to is Ousmane Dieng. This is a guy that's been in and out of the G League. He's been hurt at some portion of the year, every season that he's been with the Thunder. This is his fourth season. He's still only 16, I think, or something like that. No, I mean, he's
still one of the youngest players.
He's still one of the youngest players on the team, 22, I believe. And so this is a guy who, could absolutely have, had his head down and feel frustrated. I haven't been in the rotation. I've been hurt. I've been back and forth. He's come in and done his job at such a high level. He told me the other day that, really kind of where he feels most comfortable is kind of like point center. And that has been so critical for this Thunder team over the last 3 or 4 games because without Ajay Mitchell, without J-Dub, without Alex Caruso, for a couple games without Case and Wallace, and without Aaron Wiggins, OKC has really, really been short on ball handlers, which is an impossible statement to make about this team that has 1 million ball handlers.
Crazy
but look,
to think about.
The Thunder's been averaging 7 injured players from its main roster every single game. I mean, it's really hard to compete in the league when you've got that. And OKC is doing it. And they're hanging in there. They've still got the best record in the league despite that. And part of the reason why is they've been able to turn to a guy like Ousmane Dieng who can just at least set up and initiate the offense, right? And he has attacked off of pick and rolls, found Chet on a couple of lobs up top. I mean, the luxury of being able to have somebody in a second unit to be able to set Chet up for something easy is just massive. He also got into a little 2-man game with Chet out top last night against the Pelicans, swung the ball over to the wing and got Chet a wide open catch and shoot 3.
Ooze is a really, really good pull here because he has been very effective for Oklahoma City in this time of need here. And he's one of those guys that's been in and out of the rotation, but always kept himself ready and always comes into the game with a lot of confidence. And in fact, in the Thunder's last game against New Orleans, he checked in. It was right around that second quarter. It was in the first quarter, came in, knocked down a mid-range jumper right out of a timeout. And this is that quarter where the Thunder only had 17 points, mind you.
Yeah.
That was a really nice little lift, a good boost that the Thunder needed just to see that ball go through the hoop. And that was right out of the timeout where Ooze gets checked into the game, knocks down that shot with confidence. And I think that's a good indicator of how Ooze has been infusing a little bit of like nice energy into this game for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and this is why the Thunder at the beginning of every season says, look, we need 1 through 18 this year. We are going to need everyone. There's no writing anybody off. There's no saying, okay, well, maybe next year for this guy. Like, no. These guys are live. They're ready. They can contribute, and they will contribute when they're given their opportunity. I thought that was so special here for Ooze over the last few games. You can see him starting to feel it a little bit of like, okay, I know what I can do on this level now. He's not, going to be going for 30 points necessarily, but inside of what the Thunder needs from him, he has been extremely effective. He was plus 17.
Yes, he was.
Individual player in one game plus minus is, always needs to be taken with a grain of salt, but plus 17 in that game against Toronto. Speaking of which, the other guy that I wanted to mention just very quickly before we got to go, Isaiah Joe. Look, this is the reason why you stick with guys and you recognize the length of the season. Against Indiana, Isaiah Joe just nothing could go down for him. Great player, great shooter. Over the last, 18 months to 2 years, he's been one of the very best shooters in the NBA, like 43% from three. Against Indiana, nothing goes down. Against Toronto, he can't get that shot off late to, help OKC just get to it. Last night against New Orleans, knocks down 5 threes and is absolutely critical. I mean, massive to the team. The Thunder does not win that game if Isaiah Joe is coming in there and he's like, well, I missed so many shots the last few games, I'm just not going to shoot it. Or if his teammates are like, Zay didn't make some last game, so we're not going to swing it to him. Like, none of that happened. And the Thunder won a game because all they did was simply had faith in the guy next to them and had an understanding that, look, it's a long season. You're going to have some nights where you play great. You're going to have some nights where the ball just won't go in for you.
17 points for Isaiah Joe, 5 of 10 from the three-point line. Incredible shooting night, to your point, where the offense was just simply hard to come by. And to your point, it does not matter who's on the court for Oklahoma City. They have an identity that they want to play to. And the most important part, every single player has full unwavering confidence in every single guy that checks onto the court for this team. They all believe in each other and they all have confidence in their abilities. And it doesn't matter if Zay missed the first 4, 5, 6 shots. Shai is still going to swing the ball to him for an open 3 if he's open on the next possession. That's how much belief they have in one another. And it showed up massively in that game against New Orleans.
And you have to have that, of course, everybody is talented and capable, but you have to have that trust for the offense to even function. Because as soon as a defense senses that you're not swinging the ball to a guy, you are dead in the water. They are not going to guard him, and you're going to be playing 4 against 5 the rest of the night.
It's going to be a much tougher offensive night for you throughout that game. So great stuff from Oklahoma City. Let's get into what's brewing real quick before we have to head out to the airport to go to Minneapolis. The Thunder has one more game in January, and it is against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That game is on Wednesday out in Minneapolis. And then they actually open up February on the road. The Thunder's going to come back home in between these 2 games. They open up February on the road in Denver against the Nuggets. If you can believe it, the first time the Thunder's playing the Nuggets all season.
It's wild that this is the first meeting. And that means that we've got 3 more matchups between these teams to look forward to. And I mean, there are going to be some intense battles here down the stretch of this season. So hopefully everybody on every team, including these 2 teams, can get healthy.
Yes, they're definitely going to need all the time in between rest and recovery so that they are ready for all of these incredible games that are no doubt on the schedule between all of these teams. All right, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up and catch you later.